on DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema classics on.
This special edition of Cinema Classics celebrates Ohio Goes to the Movies, a signature event of America 250 Ohio, and is co-produced by John DeSando and Mary Yerina, and hosted by Mary Yerina. Listen to shows Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM, and listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm Mary Yerina.
And I'm David Weaver.
And this is Cinema Classics. David, we have been on a journey looking at classic films that have some Ohio connection. And this film we're talking about, Coal Miner's Daughter, has brought us home to Columbus, Ohio. Can you tell us why?
Yes, because Coal Miner's Daughter has in the pivotal role of Patsy Cline, a Columbus native, Beverly D'Angelo, who probably is best known to audiences because of the National Lampoon Vacation series, but has done many other wonderful films, and this is my personal favorite. It's one for which she received a Golden Globe nomination for her performance in the role of Patsy Cline, and very impressively to me, she did all of her own singing in this, as did Sissy Spacek in the title role of the Coal Miner's Daughter.
That's correct. And Loretta Lynn actually co-wrote her own biography by the same title, Coal Miner's Daughter, in 1976. And it was made into this 1980 film. It focuses on her life, both being raised in Butcher Holler in Kentucky, a coal mining town, and how she meets her husband, how she becomes the first lady of country music as she became known. And we really delve into the picture of her life. I thought it was very no holds bar about just what a gritty existence it was in her childhood. She was one of 8 children, lived in a home that I assume didn't have indoor plumbing, and was really in the hill country of Kentucky, and not a lot of prospects for a young girl of 13 when we meet her.
No, definitely not, and that is exactly what you said. I thought it was wonderful in how it depicted the very hard-scrabble kind of background she had, but it was a common background for all of the people, you know, that was that lived in that particularly part of Kentucky. Like you said, no indoor plumbing. I think at the time that she was probably born, you know, there was no electricity in that part of Kentucky. They were really back in the home, and opportunities very limited. William Sanderson, who has a very small part as a moonshiner, you know, tries to persuade Doolittle, and played wonderfully by Tommy Lee Jones, to join him in the moonshine business. He said, you know, when you're born in the hills, you have 3 choices: the coal mine, moonshine, or moving on down the line.
And that comes to fruition. When Dew meets Loretta, he's back from World War II. He's come back to his hometown. He notices her, and she certainly notices him. And as he courts her, and they eventually marry, although it's portrayed that they married when she was 13, and he was 21. She was actually 15 in real life, because it was illegal to get married before you were 15. Yes. But even then, you think about that by today's standards, and you're like, that seems a little young.
Yes.
But he says to her, there's nothing for me here, even though he promised her father, when he asked permission to marry her, that he would not move her away from home. He also promised not to hit her, which we found out pretty early in the marriage. He was a very charming man and clearly loved her, but had faults. He was an alcoholic, he was violent at times, and he was a womanizer. But they stayed together, and he actually encouraged her singing and bought her first guitar, which is portrayed in the film, and really was her first manager, getting her record out there and getting it played on radio. And that effort from her first song led her to be invited to the Grand Ole Opry, led her to meeting Patsy Cline, played by Beverly D'Angelo. And we really follow her story through stardom, including her nervous breakdown.
Yes, yes, and it's a thing. You see the pressures as they mount. I mean, like you said, Doolittle realizes there's no opportunities in Kentucky, so he goes way out to the opposite end of the coast to Washington State to work in the lumber business, and again, a very even though they have their own home, but they have like a child every year, it seems. And
yeah,
stuff,
she had 4 children by the time she was 20.
Yes, I can't imagine that. So I was a child at 20 myself. But anyway, it's amazing to see how she just is so reluctant at first, and he really has to push her to perform. She's becomes very adept at playing the guitar, writes her first song, and I admire how it showed that Doolittle really, as you said, was her first manager. He learned as he was going along. He knew nothing about the music business himself.
Right.
But it helps portray that the two of them were learning together. I mean, as total novices in this whole, she is a performer, he is, as a promoter and everything. So it is kind of like sad for me when I see that she does get to the point of success and he says, you don't need me anymore and stuff,
Well, the film clearly follows her journey, but it also, to your point, follows their journey as a couple. All of a sudden, when she's achieving fame and stardom and she's befriended and mentored by Patsy Cline, he's not needed anymore. She starts to operate in circles that are beyond his skill set and what he's able to do for her. But they stay together, and he's there to nurse her back to health and being able to get back on stage, which is where the film ends, with her coming back and performing to a sold-out audience and singing her signature song, Coal Miner's Daughter, which tells the story of her life. The film was recognized at the Academy Awards in 1981 with 7 nominations, including Best Picture, Adapted Screenplay by Tom Rickman, Art Direction, Cinematography, Editing, and Sound, but the only win was for Sissy Spacek as Best Actress, and I really feel like her performance is what makes this a classic film.
Yes, I definitely feel that, and again, just in awe not only of her acting performances, but the fact, that she did do her own singing, as did Beverly D'Angelo. Beverly D'Angelo had sung before, and had been some vocal groups. In fact, she was, as I understood, as I was tracing some, she was in, at a time when she was living in Canada, was in a group that was part of her, ultimately, the band which their lead vocalist and drummer, Levon Helm, played, and I kind of was shocked about that, because here was Levon Helm, rated by Rolling Stone magazine as one of the 100 greatest singers of all time and everything. And I thought Levon Helm didn't sing, but he did.
He did.
When they do the Blue Moon of Kentucky, and you think
in the film he sings that, and that's Levon Helm from the band. This was actually his first film role. And he plays Ted Webb, Loretta's father, and he does a wonderful job in the film. And he actually went on to have a career beyond the band in acting, and in Americana music. He won
Yes.
several awards in Americana music before throat cancer
Yes,
claimed
indeed.
his life.
Yes, indeed. And again, to focus on, our proud Ohioan, Beverly D'Angelo, and the fact that she played Patsy Cline. And one of the things that I feel in the movie that she and Sissy Spacek portrayed so wonderfully was that close relationship between Loretta Lynn and Patsy Cline. And I think that part of the reason, that Loretta had the problem, she was, the shock of losing Patsy Cline. And because that was her best and really her only friend outside of her husband.
That's a very good point. And we'll talk more about Beverly D'Angelo and her career and a coal miner's daughter. But in our Double Take podcast, which I hope our listeners will join us for. Before that, though, what do you recommend to our listeners about Coal Miner's Daughter?
I definitely recommend it. It's even if you're not a fan of country music, which I am a fan of country music, but it's just a wonderful story, an inspiring story to me. One of the best biographies of anybody who's been in either show business or specifically the music business.
I agree. I think it's a story that, even though sometimes it's hard to watch because of, especially her husband, and as we've said, he had some character flaws of being violent, an alcoholic, and a womanizer. You watch the dynamic of their relationship unfold, and you see her come into her own as an equal partner in the marriage and as a very successful entertainer, the first lady of country music,
Yes,
Coal Miner's
indeed.
Daughter.
I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema classics on